that you're going to hurt anyone's feelings. But if something's bothering you, if someone's being inappropriate or disrespectful or whatever it may be, whether they're offending you because whether you're offended because it's something about being a female or not, just tell them that they're being disrespectful or talk to someone about it, because more often than not, whoever is being disrespectful will be like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I really didn't mean to. I didn't really know that I was disrespecting you. And, so there's so many things that can be solved by just addressing it immediately. So yeah, just don't be afraid to be direct.
I think something that's really important is to make sure you're comfortable in your own shoes. Like, don't try too hard to be that that powerful female. You want to be who you are. You don't have to force anything like that, and be comfortable with the program you're in. You're going to know in the future, what program, like the football, if you do want to do football, you're going to know if you fit well with those coaches and his philosophy and their beliefs and things. And it's important to stick with those beliefs that you have and how they do it and how they coach. Coach Bailiff is an amazing coach at Rice, and I would work for him any day of the week if their hours weren't so long, because he instills good things in those men. And I think that's really, really important to stay true to yourself, and if you don't believe in what they're doing is the right thing, then you need to probably look somewhere else or do that, because it can get miserable really quick. So.
I think if you go into the high school setting, and whenever you go in for your interview, kind of interview the person back. You'll know right away if they're going to give you the respect that you deserve or not. I'm very fortunate. My head coach at my school is amazing. He absolutely respects me, respects the other trainer. There's no real difference between the two of us as, oh, he's better, he's male. Absolutely not. Like, we're even across the board in his eyes, and he's great for that. And I didn't interview with him when he came in because he came in later. But I knew that we were gonna work well together, because I could just tell. When I did first interview, I kind of felt like it was going to be a little weird, because I could just tell that first coach kind of looked at me like I was a little young, a little inexperienced. I just used that as a catapult to prove myself. But when you do go in, kind of, ask a few questions back, see how you feel with them. Like Don was saying, you're going to know if you fit into a program and if you belong there, and use that women's intuition.
Yeah. So do you believe that's something the coaches or the aide will ask questions, the female, them out, rather questions they probably wouldn't during the interview? I don't think it's necessarily about them asking about your ability per se. I think it's more, some of the older coaches are a little more old school in their mentality, and you can just kind of gauge that right off the bat. And the stuff that they'll ask you, are you comfortable with doing this? How would you handle this? The way that they present it to you, you're going to be able to tell what they're asking of you. And if all they're asking of you is to fill water and not take care of the boys, then that's kind of going to give you an idea of what they're going to expect out of you. So you want to, ask back, well, what would my expectations be, and make sure that they're in line with what you want to be doing. That makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And express your goals. If your goal is to be a Division I head athletic trainer and work football, then you need to tell them that impresses some people, and that says, okay, you're serious and you want to be with football. And it's not a bad thing to be, the soccer athletic trainer. But I have a different aspiration than some people. But if they're looking for a long-term person that wants to be with football or with soccer or wherever, that's who they're going to focus on. And I think longevity is something that it doesn't happen very often anymore. People jump around job to job, and that's why I think it's so important to be comfortable there. But you also need to show them your goals and say, I want to be an athletic trainer with football and eventually work in the professional setting. And I think that respect, it grows really, really quickly, because they know that you're motivated. You want to be at that level. You're not scared to admit that this is what I want to do, stuff like that. So it's exciting.
All right, so I got a question about starting a family, because whenever I started a family, there's no problem. But whenever I started a family, my wife stayed home. So she's no longer an elementary music teacher. She stays at home and what we call a domestic goddess. So
perfect. That's perfect.
I like it.
How do you guys deal with that? Well, or, what are your thoughts there? So again, we can start with you, Sonia.
Okay. It really hasn't come up as far as the whole family issue. I recently got engaged a couple months ago.
Mazel tov.
But so I'm just kind of entering that whole new stage of my life. It's just my wedding is going to be a year from now. So, but that doesn't really change anything as far as.
We all get invitations, right?
Sure.
Great.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, eventually, I would like to start a family, have kids. And I'm not really sure, haven't really figured out the details of how that's going to work, but I do know that it's probably going to have to fit in, with the regular season, figure out when those 9 months, do some math in my head. But, I know it's going to be planned around the football season. But other than that, I don't know. But I know the staff that I work with, the Steelers organization, are great. They're family people. So I know that when the time comes, they'll be more than happy to work with me.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a teeter-totter thing for a lot of women. Do I want to stay at home? Do I want to, I've worked really hard to get where I'm at, but I do want a family. So I think timing is everything with your season. But if things happen and you miss a season, you know what? Your life is way more important than a season for any college in America or any high school or whatever. So you have to keep that in the back of your mind. But I think that it always works out. It's always meant to be and works out somehow. I think I'm really blessed to have coaches that have families. And I envision myself bringing my daughter or my son to practice, when they're 2 or 3. I'm hopeful that they can be in the training room and run around, because that's where I was kind of brought up with my other head athletic trainer. He had a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, and they would play on the Theraballs all day, and jump on the little mini trampoline and stuff while we were in Saturday and Sunday treatments. And I envision that happening, and I hope that they want to be, comfortable in that setting, because I want them to be athletes too. So I think, if you have a supportive administration and coaches, I would hope that would happen that way.
You want athletes, but not athletes that are in the training area.
Right, exactly. Not hurt athletes.
I kind of always had the same mentality. I mean, that's what I was planning on when I got into working in the high school, was that I would, get married, have kids, and they would run around the training room or run around at practice. And I've got 45 student trainers, so 43 girls that are willing to babysit and would be more than happy to babysit. And, they would come up, and I mean, that was my plan. But like I said, my high school athletic trainer set that good example for me, because she did have her kids up there running around and stuff. And I remember that from when I was in high school, and she kind of instilled in me that I can really do anything I want to do if I work hard and make it happen. I'll do it however I want to do it. If I want to have a family and have a great job, I'm going to do it all.
Referencing back to Shelley at LSU, Sonia, Shelley, and I'm happy to make an email connection of the two of you, because she, she's got 2 daughters, both twins, and, she scheduled, I don't know if you could schedule a pregnancy, but she tried to get pregnant around the season. And my understanding is that, there are pictures of her where, she was like in the middle of the season, and she is pregnant with twins. And she was very open about, okay, I need to step away because I need to go pump milk, or I need to go and do these other things. And what makes the difference now, right? So we have 2 kids, and one of the things that was really important to me was that I include my kids in what it is that I'm doing, and they're included in what mommy's doing. And so they get to see all these different aspects, and whether they become athletes or not, or whether they go into my field or her field or any field, it doesn't matter. I want them to be well-rounded. And so part of that is being able to expose them to everything. But the other thing about it, too, is going back to the societal pressure, right? What Jeremy just brought up. Okay, well, the mom wants to stay home. Well, what if the dad wants to stay home? Now all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, these kind of roles are reversed. And I think it comes down to, what are you comfortable with? Sure. And how are you going to make this work? And, obviously there are some physical limitations when you're 8.5 months pregnant, right? I don't understand that because I'm the male, right? I don't understand what it's like to be pregnant. But when you're 8.5 months pregnant, there are just certain things that you're just not going to be able to do, right? But that shouldn't interfere with what your knowledge, skills, and abilities are. Right?
to kind of add to that, I kind of say that it could really kind of go both ways. I mean, yeah, there's limitations to what you can do when you're 8.5 months pregnant, but let's say you get injured somehow and you've got a broken foot and you're in a boot. You're going to have limitations there too. It's not any different. It's just it's a medical limitation, literally. There's, you've got to leave to go pump milk. Well, you could have a diabetic coach that's got to leave to go give himself insulin shots. It's all.
It is what it is.
It
and
is
people
what
need
it
to be
is.
respectful of that.
And if somebody wants to look at it as like, oh, it's all because she's a female and whatever, that's going to be their mentality. But you're going to, I mean, most of us as female trainers will say that, we're not going to be out there pregnant acting like the first woman that's ever been pregnant. Oh my gosh, can't do anything.
Right.
I don't think that's any of our personalities. We'll probably be out there until the doctor puts us down and says, no, you need to stop. And for most of us
Yeah.
work till we're sick and somebody actually pulls us off the field. So I think if you go in and you have the kind of legacy behind you of what kind of worker you are, it's not going to really change once you get pregnant and have kids, because you kind of already set up your reputation and people know who you are and the kind of worker you're going to be. But it all starts off, and I'll say this to you, it all starts off with you being comfortable with who you are and actually knowing who you are. Because if you're uncomfortable, you're not sure where your confidence stands, that kind of stuff, it's going to come out eventually that you're not confident. And whether you find a man that is comfortable staying home or not, you need to be 100% comfortable with who you are and what your role is in your life, and then go from there.
All right, with that break, unfortunately, I have to get back to work because I have another meeting that I got to get to. So I'm assuming this conversation will keep going. This is something that I think is really important. Sonia, I have a question for you.
Sure.
If I were to schedule, let's say, like a Skype appointment between you and the rest of my graduate program, would you be willing to talk to them?
Oh, definitely. I'd be
That's
happy
cool.
to do it.
So in private, I'll get your email address from Jeremy. Would that be okay?
Yep, that's fine.
Great. Thank you very much for your time. It's a real pleasure meeting you.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, and if you want to know anything else about the Master of Athletic Training program at the University of Houston, please look up the website at www.hhp.uh.edu/MAT, where you will find Rice University as one of our strategic partners now.
Woohoo! We're
So,
excited.
That's it. Okay, thanks, guys.
Josh,
Jeremy,
we're gonna
thank
have to get a banner
Nice.
and put it back there so that it's behind you all the time.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah, we're just gonna have to get a banner. So go ahead and make up that banner. We'll work on it.
I'll do it. I'll put it right here because Memorial Herman's one of our partners too.
There you go.
All right. See you guys. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Sonia.
All right. So I think we covered all the questions that I have written up. One of the questions in the chat room was about doing evaluations, because especially you, Sonia, working in the NFL, you got some really large quads. You're working on a knee. You may have smaller hands. I know Chrissy's pretty small. Her hands are going to be smaller. So what are some of the changes that you've made to make those evaluations?
I'm trying to think. There really isn't a big deal of changes that I've made compared to like my male counterparts when they're evaluating somebody. I think I was taught when I was a student in undergrad, when you're doing the Lockmans, you can kind of make it a little bit easier on yourself when you stick your leg under their knee to help support it. Or for the quad stretching, I will admit, for like some of the big linemen, if I have to stretch their quad, instead of having them laying prone on the table and then lifting up lifting up their leg the way I do with some of the smaller guys, I will have them lay on their side and do just kind of a modified quad stretch that way. But other than that, those are the only two things that really come to mind as things that I've had to change. But I don't know, I kind of pride myself on being strong and tough for a person my size. So I'd like to think that I can do anything that my male counterparts can do.
When I did my internship with the Texans, Chester Pitts, he was a lineman, and I had to help stretch his hip flexor, and it took two of us anyways. And I'm a 6'1", 200-pound male, and it still took two of us. So
Yeah.
Yep.
There obviously, yes, there can be physical limitation when it comes to males as well. So then that's when you really get creative and teach them how to stretch themselves.
great idea. Don, Chrissy, any other thoughts there?
Really? No, I mean, I'll have some big, football players. We had one kid, he had to have been 6'5", 300 pounds one time. And, instances like that, there's no way I'm going to be able to carry him off the field. You know, if he were shorter, 300 pounds, probably, but my head was at his armpits. So him using me as like a side crutch to he injured his knee was never going to work. But if I couldn't stretch him, I got a student to help me, and it gave me two, you know, it was double edged. I could teach the student while we were working together, and we got the job done on the kid. So, you know, but that's the benefit of being in high school. I have students to work with. Sonia doesn't have, you know, students working with her, but that's what I do as a kind of a modification for me. But I, like her, I try to work out and stay in shape and stay strong so that it's